Can we call the meeting to order?
Not quite yet.
Okay.
Oh, now we can.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Algonquin Highlands is located on Treaty 20 Mishi-Saugeag territory and in the traditional territory of the Mishi-Saugeag and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. We also acknowledge a historical shared presence of other Indigenous nations throughout the area. We recognize these original Indigenous inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. Good afternoon, my name is Liz Danielson. I'm the Deputy Mayor and Chair of the Committee of Adjustment. With us today are committee members, Gary Trapp, public member, John Rogers, public member, Julia Shortreed, who is a member of council, and the other member of our committee, public member of the committee, Chris Woods, is absent today. With us, we also have Sean O'Callaghan, our planner. So is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof today? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of April the 29th? Moved by Julia Shortreed, second by Gary Trapp.
Moved by Julia Shortreed, second by Gary Trapp. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves as circulated the meeting minutes of April 29th, 2022. John Rogers, yea or nay?
Yay.
Julia Shortreed, yea or nay?
Yay.
Gary Trapp, yea or nay?
Yay.
And Liz Danielson, yea or nay?
Yay.
That's carried.
Under business arising from the minutes, you may have noticed on the agenda that there was a closed educational session included, but that is going to be deferred as the session was requested by Member Woods and he is unavailable today. So we'll carry on to new business. And the first is an application by Lalas and Oslak on Cuagama Lake.
This property is located at 1008 Yellow Brick Lane. It's land zoned shoreline residential type 2 and designated waterfront under the official plan. The property is approximately 0.58 acres in area with 31.7 meters of frontage on Cuagama Lake. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, and the lands are currently developed with a dwelling, a sleeping cabin, a shed, and a dock. The applicants are proposing to demolish the existing dwelling and construct a new 1,840 square foot dwelling. The proposed dwelling will be constructed in the same general footprint of the existing dwelling and will be no closer to the high water mark than the existing dwelling. Existing site infrastructure, including the driveway along with topographical constraints, do limit the available building locations for the proposed dwelling that would comply with the zoning bylaw requirements. Therefore, the following minor variance is being requested, and that is from section 4.10.53 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 15 meters to 9.1 meters to permit the construction of a 1,840 square foot dwelling. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, and circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands, as well as to the Cuagama Lake Property Owners Association. No objections have been received, and staff are recommending approval of the proposed minor variance with the following conditions. One, that confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed dwelling is not located closer than 9.1 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing or site alteration or the issuance of a building permit. Two, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And three, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, which shall include the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
Do members of the committee have any questions for Sean? Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the application from the public or representing the applicants?
Yes, I believe the applicant and their builder will be joining us, so we'll bring them in.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, just one will be joining us.
Good afternoon, Mr. Oslak. Is there some information you'd like to give us with respect to your application?
Good afternoon to the committee, Chairwoman, and very nice to meet you all and see you. You've got a great system and happy to be able to participate. I mean, the only thing that I want to say is that in our application and in our plan, we're doing the absolute best we can. I hope you can see that to, take good care of the environment and the property, not getting closer to the lake, not digging a foundation, not blasting rocks and chopping trees all over the place. So that's the only thing that I could really say. I just wanted you to hear me say that. I think it's clear in the app that that's what we're trying to do, but I wanted you to hear that.
Well, and I do note that you've got a rather unique design for the house to accommodate the terrain, which is, it's nice to see somebody go to that extent. Are there any questions of the applicant by committee members? No questions? Well, could I have a motion? Could I have a mover and a seconder to put a motion on the floor? Moved by Julia Shortreed, second by Gary Trapp.
Moved by Julia Shortreed, second by Gary Trapp. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application AHMV 00622 to seek relief from section 4.10.53 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 15 meters to 9.1 meters to permit the construction of a 1,840 square foot dwelling, subject to the following conditions. One, that confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed dwelling is not located closer than 9.1 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing or site alteration or the issuance of a building permit. Two, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And three, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline. Julia Shortreed, yea or nay?
Yay.
Gary Trapp, yea or nay?
Yay.
Sorry, was that a yea?
Yes, that was
Oh,
affirmative.
thank you.
Yay. Yes. Sorry.
John Rogers, yea or nay?
Yay.
And Liz Danielson, yea or nay?
Yay.
That's carried.
So your application has been approved, Roslak. Just to advise that there is a 20-day appeal period before any construction can commence.
I understand. Thank you very much.
Good luck with your project.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Next is an application by Welch on Halls Lake.
This property is located at 1215 Halls Lake Road. It's zoned shoreline residential type 1 and designated waterfront under the official plan. The property is approximately 0.75 acres in area with 48.4 meters of frontage on Halls Lake Road. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, and the lands are currently developed with a dwelling and 2 sheds. The applicant is proposing to construct an addition to the existing legal non-complying dwelling, increasing the gross floor area from 1,358 square feet to 2,248 square feet. The proposed addition will be constructed in 3 separate sections of the dwelling. First, a 527 square foot second floor addition, a 155 square foot addition on the front of the dwelling, and a 100 square foot addition on the rear of the dwelling. The following minor variances are required to accommodate that development. One, from section 4.10.52 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 15 meters to 6.63 meters to permit the construction of a 527 square foot second floor addition. Two, from section 4.10 0.51 of the zoning bylaw to increase the gross floor area of a legal non-complying structure from 1,358 square feet to 2,248 square feet. And 3, from table 2 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the front lot line from 12 meters to 4.9 meters to permit the construction of a 155 square foot addition to a dwelling. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands, as well as to the Halls Hawk Lake Property Owners Association. No objections have been received, and staff are recommending approval of the proposed minor variance with the following conditions. 1, confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed 527 square foot second floor addition is not located closer than 6.63 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing or site alteration or the issuance of a building permit. 2, that confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed 155 square foot addition is not located closer than 4.9 meters to the front lot line prior to any clearing or site alteration or the issuance of a building permit. 3, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 4, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, which shall include the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
Are there any questions of Sean and his report or on any of the conditions? Mr. Trapp and then Rogers.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just to clarify, the reduction in the high water from 49 feet to 21 feet. I was just a little confused by the 21 feet. It seems like it's a lot further back than 21 feet from the high water mark. Or is that perhaps related to the creek, or is that the lake, or both, or maybe just some clarification on that?
Yes, so that is to the creek.
Okay. So that's pertaining to the addition over the garage then on that end, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Mr. Rogers.
I think that actually, Madam Chair, probably answers my question. Because there's a road coming through here in front of the property, that you're still measuring from wherever the high water mark is, even though there is a road in between, that has no impact on that measurement.
I believe that's correct.
Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone present who wishes to speak to the application?
Yes, I believe the applicant is here, so we'll bring them in.
Now, can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Can you see me?
No, we can't see you.
Just needed to push one more button. There we are.
There you are. Good afternoon. Is there anything that you would like to add to the information the committee's been given so far?
No, just thank you for reviewing the application and considering my request. To summarize quite nicely, first of all, I think you've got all the facts exactly the way I see them here. In summary, we're really just trying to increase the size of a sunroom on the front of the house. It comes out 4 feet further than where it is today. And the second story addition over the garage is not going to change the location of the building to the creek. It just increases the height. So the distance to the water remains the same on that addition. And that's really, that's the bulk of what we're doing.
Do any of the committee members have questions for Mrs. Welsh? Hearing none, is there anyone else who wishes to speak to the application present?
No, there's no one else.
Could I have a mover and a seconder to put the resolution on the floor? Moved by John Rogers, seconded by Gary Trapp.
Moved by John Rogers, seconded by Gary Trapp. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application HMV 00722 to seek relief from section 4.10.52 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 15 meters to 6.63 meters to permit the construction of a 527 square foot second floor addition. From table 2 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the front lot line from 12 meters to 4.9 meters to permit the construction of a 155 square foot addition. And 3, from section 4.10.51 of the zoning bylaw to increase the gross floor area of a legal non-complying structure from 1,358 square feet to 2,248 square feet, subject to the following conditions. 1, that confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed 527 square foot second floor addition is not located closer than 6.63 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing or site alteration of the issuance of a building permit. 2, that confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed 155 square foot addition is not located closer than 4.9 meters to the front lot line prior to any clearing or site alteration of the issuance of a building permit. And 3, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. 4, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline. Julia Shortreed, yea or nay?
Yay.
Gary Trapp, yea or nay?
Yay.
John Rogers, yea or nay?
Yay.
And Liz Danielson, yea or nay?
Okay,
That's carried.
your application is approved. Just to be aware that you have a 20-day appeal period before you can begin construction. Meanwhile, good luck with your project.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
You too. The next application is by Buchanan on Cuagama Lake.
This property is located at 1220 Meeting Trail. The lands are zoned shoreline residential type 2 and designated waterfront under the official plan. The subject property is approximately 2.11 acres in area with 87.1 meters of frontage on Cuagama Lake. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, and the lands are currently developed with a dwelling, a sleeping cabin, a dryland boathouse, and a dock. The applicants are proposing to demolish the existing dwelling and construct a new 2,098 square foot dwelling. The proposed dwelling will be constructed in the same general footprint of the existing dwelling and will be no closer to the high water mark than the existing dwelling. The applicant is proposing to construct a roof over a portion of the proposed deck. The roof overhang would be set back 10 meters from the high water mark. Existing site infrastructure, including the driveway, along with topographical constraints, limit an available building location that would comply with zoning bylaw requirements. The following minor variance is therefore being requested, and that is from section 4.2.7D of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 15 meters to 10 meters for a covered deck. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands, as well as to the Cuagama Lake Property Owners Association. No objections have been received, and staff would recommend approval of the proposed minor variance with the following conditions. 1, confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed roof deck is not located closer than 10 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing or site alteration or the issuance of a building permit. 2, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 3, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, which shall include the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
Are there any questions specific to Sean's report? Hearing none, is there anyone who wishes to speak to the application?
Yes, I believe the property owners as well as their agent will be joining us, so we'll bring them in.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Mr. Buchanan and Ms. Markham.
Good afternoon.
Is there further information that you'd like to give to the committee or comments you'd like to make to the application?
So thank you very much, Chair. I just had a few comments that I'd like to make, which is just further to the application that we had submitted to the municipality. So once again, good afternoon to the Chair and committee. My name is Melissa Markham. I'm a senior planner with Marie Poirier Planning and Associates, located at 44 King William Street, Unit A, Huntsville, Ontario, P1H1G3. So thank you, committee, for taking the time to hear the application today and allowing us an opportunity to provide our opinion to the committee. I'd also like to thank your planner, Sean, for his overview. I think he captured everything that the applicants are proposing to do on the lands. He provided an overview with regards to what's existing on the property now and the proposed development. And I think I'll just keep my comments exactly to the 4 tests of the minor variance here today. In our opinion, the proposed development is minor and meets the 4 tests as set out in the Planning Act. The development is desirable for the appropriate use of the land. The shoreline will be left in its natural state. A significant vegetated buffer exists on both the shoreline and adjacent property boundaries. Environmental disturbance will be minimized as construction of the proposed covered deck will be on top of a permitted deck, which is also projecting into the front yard. This the cover will allow for sun protection for the owners, and it will not constitute additional habitable space coming closer to the water. The proposed development maintains the general intent of the official plan. The proposed use is permitted, and a deck is permitted to project into the front yard. Having the deck covered will not have any additional impact on the environment, shoreline activity area, or the buffer. The proposed development maintains the general intent of the zoning bylaw. The bylaw permits the constructions of decks and balconies to project. However, it doesn't permit a covered deck to project, which is the purpose of the application here before you. If it was uncovered, it would comply and no relief would be sought from the zoning bylaw. Decks, balconies, steps, and patios can project a maximum of 6 meters from a building. And the proposed deck will project a maximum of 3 meters, which will make it 10 meters from the high water mark. The proposed projection and setback are within that which is permitted by the zoning bylaw. The development on the property does not exceed lot coverage. The built form is consistent with development on the surrounding shoreline. The application is also minor. Construction of the covered deck, which is within the permitted projection for a deck or balcony, in our opinion, is minor in impact and in scale. The envelope where development is feasible is restricted, as you heard from your planner here today, due to the topography and other vegetation on the property. They're also utilizing the existing footprint of the existing dwelling to situate the property with minimal disturbance. Overall, we concur with the staff report prepared that the proposed development meets the 4 tests for a minor variance. However, we do have one condition that we just wanted to put forward to the committee today. That would be condition number 1. We're just looking to have committee look at that and determine whether it would be a requirement for this application. The reason that we're bringing this forward to committee today is because condition 1 is setting out that confirmations requested from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed roof deck is located no closer than 10 meters prior to a building permit being issued. At this point, the site plan that was submitted by the applicants is on a survey that was provided by an Ontario land surveyor. So the survey is already being proposed. The designer had put on the proposed development that you have here before you on top of a survey. So a surveyor has already been out to the property and cited the location of the existing buildings. The owner has also confirmed with the surveyor that in order to get this confirmation from the surveyor that it had provided this to him, it won't be until October of this year that they would be able to go out to the property, as that would be prior to the issuance of a building permit. We're just asking for committee to look into this to determine whether it would be required in this situation, since a surveyor has already been out to the property and has already located the existing dwellings on the property. As for condition number 2 and 3, we are amenable. The owner is amenable to these conditions for septic capacity and also the construction mitigation during the construction of the property. We trust our report provided in the presentation today substantiates the planning merits of the application and hopefully alleviates any concerns. We respectfully request approval of this minor variance, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And as you know, the owner is here and so is the designer, Steve Jarrett. Thank you very much.
This is the requirement for a survey is a pretty basic or standard requirement with applications like this. But I would look to Sean to comment on Ms. Markham's request.
I would agree with the chair that this is a standard condition we include in variances for setback reductions. In this case, we do have the survey, but I think what typically we would look for is a stake to be placed on the property so the building inspector can confirm that setback as the construction is taking place. So I would not be supportive of waiving that condition.
It just seems unfortunate to me that we would require them to miss an entire construction season when there is a survey information available. Mr. Jarrett, you are representing the applicant in some way, or if you could just identify your position and make comments.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm the designer.
Okay. And you wish to comment?
I just wish to make one quick comment. I mean, in order to protect all of us, whenever we do any foundation work on all of these projects, the surveyor is required to locate everything before we ever get started. So he's going to be there locating footings, foundation walls, piers, everything else. So at that time, you can certainly guarantee exactly what you guys are looking for, and we're both protecting each other. So.
Can you comment on that, Sean?
So if I understand, then that obtaining this meeting this condition shouldn't be an issue then.
No, it's just we can do it at construction, John, as opposed to doing it a year out.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can move our construction period forward.
So I suppose what we could do is amend the condition then that we not require it prior to the issuance of a building permit, but prior to the issuance of a yeah, I would have to talk to the building.
Sorry, I maybe had occupancy certificate, which is the final stage of the building process, but maybe that's the way to do it in this particular case.
So we could do that. I just concerned that in a situation where the survey determines that it's actually closer than what the variance is, then it's now not a complying structure. That's typically why we would require this survey before the issuance of a building permit.
And I would like to see clarification prior to construction being completed for sure. I would like to see it before the major construction commences. Mr. Trapp, you had a question or a comment?
Yeah, I guess one question, just to clarify. So the survey, there is a survey been done. So it's purely an issue of timing as to when the survey company can get out there to stake the, is that not something that, and sorry if you've already pushed back to the OLS, but I don't know. It seems like that would be a pretty reasonable request before October to get them back out there if a survey's been done as part of the service they're going to provide. But I don't know. I don't have their schedule either. But just to clarify too, the site plan. It's like in the verbiage, it says it's going to be no closer to the high water. Where the existing deck is now, is that where the edge of the proposed deck is going to be, or will the new deck actually be extending closer to the water? Could somebody just clarify that part?
Steve, do you want to clarify or?
Yeah, sure. So the new deck is closer to the waterfront than the old deck. I've pushed the existing cottage, once it's taken down, our new cottage is behind the limit of the old cottage, but our deck is encroaching closer to the water.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
And could I respond about the surveyor?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I had, I think it's Rudy Mack come in 2018 to do, because we had a survey, but not a survey with buildings. And they did a full topographical survey in 2018, which I'm very glad I did now, given all the circumstances that have happened. And they actually gave us a CAD file of the whole topographical survey, which I provided to Steve, and Steve has been using the output of their survey for all of his design work. And in fact, he's put the new designed cottage right into the topography of the topographic survey. I reached out to Rudy Mack, just given the relationship, and talked to their scheduler, and he said that they're just so busy. Unless we got lucky and they just happened to be around, and I reached out to them and I haven't even got a response on that one, the earliest would be October. So it's a very recent survey. It marks the cottage, it marks the accessory buildings, it marks the deck. It's very recent, and I believe to be accurate.
Mr. Trapp.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not trying to be difficult here. I can certainly understand the scheduling issues, and I'm supportive in that notion, but just to Sean's concerns, we've seen situations where applicants have had to come back a second time because the distances weren't what they thought. Now, granted, they didn't have the surveys in hand. I just don't know how we, and no offense to the applicant, but how do we fully protect ourselves that those distances are adhered to unless the surveyor confirms that? So I'm struggling a little bit with it here.
If I could, I have to admit, your township was the first I've heard of this in my 36 years doing it all in advance. Most townships will turn around basically and ask us to confirm at construction. I've never seen it in the beginning. So, I mean, we can put, the issue I have, I guess, is if we go ahead and we put a stake in the ground now that stipulates where that is, we then excavate and that stake gets moved or whatever, then what assurance do I have? So the only way I can really protect all of us is to make sure a surveyor locates the building before we ever get rolling. But I mean, the best time to do that is when we're trying to dig holes. So.
Yeah, notwithstanding what other municipalities do, we do have a process that we use here, and we can't waver from that because other municipalities do something different. But it would seem to me that there's got to be some midway point that we can come to an understanding that we get clarification of the setback distances before construction is completed. Because if it's not in the right place after the fact, we've really got everybody's got a problem. And I'm not quite sure how to resolve this. Is there a way, Sean, that we could word the resolution that would allow for the survey information to come at some point? Obviously, there's going to be demolition involved after demolition, but before construction.
Perhaps what we could do is include in the condition that it be confirmed by a surveyor at time of foundation inspection by our chief building official.
Would that be satisfactory to the applicant? It's not that we're trying to put roadblocks up for you. We're trying to find a way to make this work for both you and us.
So just so that I get some clarification, so we are looking at that would be after the building permit has already been issued, and essentially it would be as soon as the foundation's going in, the surveyor would pin the foundation to demonstrate that 10-meter setback. I think the only thing we have is the foundation. Steve, I guess maybe you'd have to chime in here. So the foundation would be for the dwelling. This would be more for the covered porch component of the dwelling. Would the surveyor pin where the posts for the deck would be? Steve, maybe you can answer that.
So the surveyor will pin the entire building as well as every corner in the building, plus the location of each of the piers. So that'll be the closest limit we have to the lake, because our deck doesn't cantilever over the pillars.
I think that would definitely be something that I see Jamie nodding his head that the owner would be amenable to, and that would just push it up a little bit closer to be able to get that building permit. So that would be great if committee could look at that condition for us here today. Thank you.
Yes, I would appreciate that.
Does that sound reasonable to the committee, or are there concerns with that? Mr. Rogers?
Actually, as I'm thinking this through, if the deck is an addition, it's something that's added to the structure after the main foundations are built and the main walls are up, and that sort of thing. Is that correct? It's not an integral part of the foundations. It's from what Mr. Jarrett said, it sounded like it's going to be constructed on posts or piers of some sort. So I'm just trying to get a picture that from a timing point of view, can you ask for a permit separately for the deck and separately for the building, and then this issue may actually go away, because the only thing you're asking for is the covered deck to be permitted. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
The only problem with that is that requires a totally new application process and considerable additional costs.
Yeah, I think the other thing I would say, and Steve, you probably know better, but since the roof extends from the roof line, it would be part of the main build, so it would have to be part of the original build.
That does answer my question. That's a valid point. We don't have the drawings in front of us, so I don't know what the actual structure looks like at this point.
Are there other questions or comments? And how does the committee feel about going ahead and approving the application, but requiring that survey information be provided before actual full construction starts? I do have one more concern, and this is not with relation to what you're proposing to do right now, but the municipality has often suffered from something that we call deck creep, where you build a deck and there's no requirement for permits, and then all of a sudden, especially in the case where the deck has got a roof on it, that it becomes enclosed. And that just creates another ball of another problem. And I just wonder, Sean, if there's any way that we can stipulate that there be no further closure of the deck area.
So this variance is very specific for only a covered deck. So it's not for an enclosed building. So if in the future they were to construct walls around it, it would no longer be in compliance with the minor variance.
Okay. Have you got any thoughts, Sean, on amending the resolution in a way that would meet your satisfaction?
I think if we change it to the requirement for a surveyor confirmation to be at the time of a foundation inspection, I believe that I would be comfortable with that. Just as long as the applicants are aware that should the measurements not add up, then they would have to stop construction and reapply all over again.
Does that sound reasonable to the applicants? I think that's the best saw-off point we can meet.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yep.
I think that sounds like what we're looking for. Thank you.
And to the committee, can you agree with that? Mr. Trapp?
Yeah, I mean, I would be supportive of that. I think that's a reasonable compromise, given the fact that there is already an OLS and timing and everybody's busyness. I think that could work.
Okay, could I have a mover and a seconder to put the motion on the floor? Mr. Trapp? Seconded by Mr. Rogers.
Sorry, I'm just amending it. It'll just be a moment.
Okay.
And I apologize, I missed who the mover and seconder was.
It was Mr. Trapp and Mr. Rogers.
Moved by Gary Trapp, seconded by John Rogers. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application AHMV 00922 to seek relief from section 4.2.7D of the comprehensive zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 15 meters to 10 meters for a covered deck, subject to the following conditions. One, that confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed roof deck is not located closer than 10 meters from the high water mark at time of foundation inspection. Two, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And three, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, which shall include the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline. Julia Shortreed, yea or nay?
Yay.
Gary Trapp, yea or nay?
Yay.
John Rogers, yea or nay?
Yay.
And Liz Danielson, yea or nay?
Yay.
That's carried.
So your application is approved, and just a reminder that there's a 20-day appeal period and no construction should take place before then.
Thank you very much. And thanks for working so collaboratively.
Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, our final application is Wilson on Cameron Lake.
This property is located at 1029 Orms Trail. The lands are zoned shoreline residential type 2 and designated waterfront under the official plan. The property is approximately 0.73 acres in area with 35.6 meters of frontage on Cameron Lake. Surrounding uses are generally shoreline residential, and the lands are currently developed with a dwelling, a detached garage, 2 sheds, and a dock. The applicants are proposing to demolish the existing dwelling and construct a 3,000 square foot dwelling. The proposed dwelling will be constructed in the same general footprint of the existing dwelling. However, it will be slightly closer to the high water mark. The existing dwelling is currently set back 32.82 meters, and the proposed will be set back 27.94. Existing site infrastructure, including a hydro line, septic, and driveway, do limit the available building locations for the proposed dwelling that would comply with the zoning bylaw requirements. Therefore, the following minor variance is being requested, and that is from table 2 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 30 meters to 27.94 meters to permit the construction of a 3,000 square foot dwelling. Notice of the application was posted on the property, posted on the township website, circulated to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands, as well as to the Maple Beach Cameron Lakes Area Property Owners Association. No objections have been received, and staff are recommending approval of the proposed minor variance with the following conditions. One, that confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed dwelling is not located closer than 27.94 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing or site alteration or the issuance of a building permit. 2, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 3, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline.
Do committee members have any questions about Sean's report? Is there anyone here who wishes to speak to the application?
Yes, there is one, and we will bring them in now.
Sean, the only question that I might have about this application is about percent lot coverage. Is there, are we in good order with respect to that?
Yes, for the principal structure, it would fall within the requirements.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Wilson. Is there anything that you would like to say to the committee about your application?
Good afternoon, everyone. Just glad you could review our application, and we put everything in part as you know to proceed further with this.
Do members of the committee have any questions for Mr. Wilson? Mr. Trapp?
Yeah, sorry if I missed this. The proposed structure, is it on the same footprint as the existing?
Yes, it is. We are just moving forward towards the setback, towards the lake, in order to fit the size of the building in. I cannot, as Sean said before, I can't go back because I've installed a new septic system within the last 4 years. And there's hydro behind us, which we have to have a minimum of 15 feet. So basically, yes, the new building would be the back walls and would be in the footprint. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And there were no written comments received.
Correct.
Okay, could I have a mover and a seconder to put the motion on the floor? Julie Shortreed moved by and seconded by Gary Trapp.
Moved by Julia Shortreed, seconded by Gary Trapp. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves minor variance application HMV 1022 to seek relief from Table 2 of the zoning bylaw to reduce the minimum setback from the high water mark from 30 meters to 27.94 meters to permit the construction of a 3,000 square foot dwelling, subject to the following conditions. One, that confirmation be provided from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed dwelling is not located closer than 27.94 meters from the high water mark prior to any clearing or site alteration or the issuance of a building permit. Two, that any on-site sewage system permits and reviews required by the township have been obtained and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. And three, that appropriate construction mitigation measures be implemented, including the erection and maintenance of silt fencing between the proposed building and the shoreline. Julia Shortreed, yea or nay?
Yay.
Gary Trapp, yea or nay?
Yay.
John Rogers, yea or nay?
Yay.
Yeah, and Liz Danielson, yea or nay?
Yay.
That's carried.
So your application is approved, Mr. Wilson. Just a reminder that there's a 20-day appeal period before construction can commence.
I understand that. Thank you.
And good luck with your project.
Thank you very much. Take care. Have a good afternoon.
You too. That concludes the applications for today. Tongue in cheek, I just want to ask Mr. Callahan if there's any danger pay for accessing the first application. The yellow
Yes.
brick name.
The steep driveway.
That was an interesting spot to access.
I was going to ask if we get paid for a tow truck pulling us out of those situations.
I briefly wondered that because Gary and I got stuck.
Yeah. Oh, it was something else.
Okay, I don't believe that there's anything further to discuss. So if I could have a
Madam Chair, did
yes, go ahead.
we do the minutes? I don't. I either I'm really
Yes.
wasn't paying attention, or
Yeah.
We
yeah,
did do-
I
okay.
believe so.
Gosh, you had me wondering there for a second. I thought,
Yeah.
did we?
Okay. Okay. Sorry.
So our next, Go ahead.
Sorry.
Another question?
One other thing. The application where we were worried about the timing of the surveyor's measurement, something else I thought in one of the applications, and I couldn't remember it while we're going through. Do we ever consider suggesting to the applicants that they, like this last one was 27.94 meters or something. If the surveyor comes in at 27.86 meters, does that mean somebody has to come back and is it something that maybe the applicant should be asking for a 29? I forget the specifics again on this one, but 29 meter instead of 29.74 meter setback approval, just so that it allows for a bit of a difference in the actual measurements.
go ahead, Sean.
So on that particular application, in their first version of the site plan I reviewed, I knew it was going to be close, so I required that survey beforehand. So that number came from a surveyor.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
So I believe our next meeting would be on the 24th of June.
So actually, I don't have a complete application, which works out because there are, we won't have enough staff for, actually, I'm going to be away for the June meeting anyways. But also in July, just moving on to there, I would like to propose that we meet on July 28th, which is a Thursday.
At the same time, is that the proposal, Sean? It's the same 1 o'clock time?
Yes, unless if another time would work better, then we can look at accommodating.
I'm okay either way.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with it as well.
Yeah, I'm okay with it as well. If you could just send out a note to Chris
Yep.
and let him know that the date is changed, that we will be delayed until July,
Mhm.
and that it's on a Thursday.
Yeah, and it's possible that we will have more applications than what we would normally deal with, but I'll be sure to let the committee know.
Okay, so we won't have any issue with not meeting deadlines with respect to any applications that we get?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, anything else that we need to discuss? Then I would ask for a mover and a seconder to adjourn. Moved by Julia Shortreed, second by John Rogers.
Moved by Julia Shortreed, second by John Rogers. Be it resolved, the Committee of Adjustment hereby adjourns its regular meeting at 1:52 p.m. John Rogers, yea or nay?
Yay.
Julia Shortreed, yea or nay?
Yay.
Gary Trapp, yea or nay?
Yay.
And Liz Danielson, yea or nay?
Yay.
That's carried.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next time.